Let's talk about why your knees hurt worse in the morning, and then I'm going to give you a 2-minute fix. Plus, I'm going to show you what to do to get rid of the root cause. The pain that you feel in your knees when you wake up in the morning actually didn't start in the morning. It started right in the middle of the night, roughly between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. What happens for most people that have osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis in the knee or anywhere in the body, you have this pro-inflammatory marker. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it's called IL-6 that is 10 times higher than it should be in the middle of the night. On top of that, normally there should be synovial fluid, which is this lubrication in your knee that should be keeping things separated and smooth. But when we're not moving, especially if you have arthritis of any type, that very thin synovial fluid turns into like this cold liquid honey, a very thick fluid that ends up causing your knees to be very stiff and painful when you get out of the bed for at least 30 to 60 minutes. And then on top of that layer, there's a hormone. It's called cortisol. Your body makes it, and it runs on a circadian rhythm. The highest point of cortisol is at 8 o'clock a.m. Okay, the lowest point of cortisol is at 2 a.m., right when you start having this inflammatory molecule spike by a factor of 10x. So it's this perfect storm of inflammation that actually keeps you from getting into a really wonderful deep sleep through the night. There's even a synthetic type of cortisol. It's a medication called prednisone. It's a very powerful anti-inflammatory that is on a time release that people take right before they go to bed so they can sleep through the night without pain. Unfortunately, that comes with a big package. Yes, it gets rid of inflammation, but it also gets rid of your joint. So I don't recommend prednisone, but the point is your body actually makes cortisol and it's at its lowest point in the middle of the night, and then the lack of sleep keeps you inflamed. So we keep going round and round and round. I'm going to show you how to finally break that, okay? Typically, when you get out of bed, if you have osteoarthritis, you're going to feel very stiff and inflamed for about 30 minutes. But if you have rheumatoid arthritis, it's going to be probably for 60 minutes or longer. But regardless of which one you have, there's something very simple, very powerful you can do to give yourself relief before you even get out of bed in the morning, okay? So in the morning, you wake up, 2 minutes. This is what I recommend you do. You go through a series of 3 exercises. While you're still laying in bed on your back, you're going to start with what's called ankle pumps. So you're basically going to take your feet back and forth for about 30 seconds. By pumping the ankles, you're pumping the calf muscle. You're getting circulation into the ankles as well as up into the knee. So after that, you graduate to the heel slides. The heel slides is where you're going to take your heels and you're going to bend your knees, sliding your heels up and down the sheets gently 10 times. Then after that, you do what's called the quad set. 6 reps of this. So what you're going to do is you're going to activate the quad muscle. That's the muscle on the top part. That's your thigh muscle. You're going to squeeze that muscle very, very tight for 5 seconds, and then you're going to relax for a few seconds, and you're going to contract that muscle for 5 seconds, and you're going to do that 6 times. And there's a very specific reason why this is going to work. It's going to give you a lot of relief, especially this last one when you activate the quadricep. Because what's going to happen now is you're going to get out of bed and you're going to notice like, wow, I don't have that stiffness. It's going to take several days for it to really kick in, but then you go into your shower, apply very warm to hot water on your knees as the icing on the cake. Maybe I shouldn't say icing or cake, but I wanted to give you something to give you some really good relief before you even get out of your bed. There's a couple really interesting things about knee arthritis that you need to know about, especially if you have an autoimmune disease of the knee called rheumatoid. They found these certain microbes in the knee that should not be in the knee. They're actually from your mouth. Now the question is, how did they get from your mouth into the knee? Well, usually from a deeper infection or some type of periodontal disease, or even an infection deep underneath the gum that you can't see, which a lot of times comes from a root canal. And I want to just bring this into your awareness because this is one of the hidden areas of infection that a lot of people don't even realize. If you had a root canal and you have arthritis, you should go to a biological dentist to have them evaluate that, because they can do a panoramic x-ray and look deep underneath your gum. And I sent people to these dentists that specialize in this, and they came back and they showed me this x-ray with literally part of the bone underneath their tooth was completely gone from a deep infection they had no idea about. And of course, that infection is leaking bacteria from your mouth into the bloodstream, and it's ending up in the arteries and your joints. What was really interesting, as soon as they cleaned that out, like when I walked out of the dentist's office, like that stiffness I had in my back just kind of cleared up. I'm like, you mean to tell me that was coming from this? So the next question is, how do we lower this pro-inflammatory molecule? Because if it's up by 10 times in the middle of the night, is there any way to bring it down? There's a couple things I would recommend. One is turmeric. The active phytonutrient in turmeric is curcumin, and it has a huge capacity to lower and knock down this inflammatory molecule. You would want to get the kind that has black pepper, but what I would do if I were you is I would take some turmeric right before bed, and you may just feel that alone helps you sleep through the entire night with less inflammation, so you can then wake up and feel less stiff in your knees. Now, I can't ignore another thing that's a very powerful anti-inflammatory that relates to this whole problem, and that is vitamin D. Take at least 10,000 or 20,000 or even 30,000 IUs of vitamin D3 if you have an autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, because people that have autoimmune diseases require a lot more vitamin D. And of course, you don't want to take vitamin D without the cofactor, vitamin K2. Why? What does vitamin K2 do? It keeps the calcium from building up in the joints and the arteries. If we have enough vitamin K2, we can keep that calcification out of our joints. The key cofactor to make both of these work is magnesium. Not just keeping the calcium out of the joints, but keeping the calcium from building up in the muscles that keep things contracted, especially if you have leg cramps or your toes cramp at night. Magnesium is the answer for that. Now, if we go earlier, well, it's usually some type of blood sugar problem, years of consuming a lot of the wrong foods, especially refined carbohydrates. So one really important thing to knock out inflammation is to lower your insulin through no snacks after dinner. Just that alone will probably make a huge difference. So you have your dinner at 6 o'clock. Do not eat anything after that. You can drink some water, but just put a big sign on your refrigerator. The kitchen is closed. So a lot of people ask me, what supplements do I recommend? Now, of course, I'm not biased of my own high quality supplement line, but if you go to Amazon and type Dr. Berg supplements, you'll find more information. Also, this is interesting. Every time you walk, your entire body weight is on one knee. And then we put our entire weight on the other knee as we're walking. When you squat down on your knees, you're literally adding 4 times your body weight pressure on your knees. A lot of pressure on the knees, especially if you are overweight. For every pound that you lose, you will take away and eliminate from this equation 5,000 pounds of extra pressure for every mile that you walk on your knees. So just by losing weight, you can actually reduce knee pain, especially stiffness and inflammation as well. Out of all the research done on the knee, as far as therapeutic benefit for the knee, it's the strengthening of your quadriceps and your hamstrings too. It's the most therapeutic thing that you can do for the knees, is strengthening your legs. If you're sitting behind your desk at the computer, every hour, do a sit to stand exercise. So you're basically going from a sit to stand position as many times as you can until you can't do that anymore. Sometimes people can't even do it like 2 or 3 times, or even 1 time, but if you could start doing it 10 to 20 times every hour, that would be super therapeutic to help strengthen your quads and your hamstring. Another thing to do is to do a squat or a sitting position on a wall and holding that for a period of time until your legs are burning. Very, very therapeutic for your knees. But there's also another thing I found called walking backwards. I just did a video on it, but people that have knee pain get great benefits from walking backwards because you're reversing the whole dynamics of how the muscle works. And there's a lot of research behind this. you are activating not just the opposite muscles in the knee for stabilization, but you're activating your brain because it has to predict where you're walking. So walking backwards, make sure you look where you're going. Don't do this in public, maybe in your backyard on the grass. But if you're walking down the street backwards and someone sees you doing this, don't mention my name because it would look kind of strange. But I wanted to point out walking backwards is super therapeutic to strengthen the knees, especially if you combine that with working on your quads. If you have more wear and tear on the cartilage, don't forget to take collagen powder. This is the raw material that helps build the cartilage between your joints, but it also can actually activate stem cells that can help rebuild cartilage. I did an entire video on this. I'll put that link down below. But I wanted to give you a really good summary on not only how to improve the knee pain, but also get rid of the root cause and the best therapeutic benefits that you can do that are more natural. Now, since this molecule, IL-6, goes up by 10x, and turmeric has the potential to bring it down, I created a fascinating video on not just the anti-inflammatory benefits of turmeric, but some of the other interesting benefits as well. And I put all that in this video right here. Check it out. So a lot of people ask me, what supplements do I recommend? Now, of course, I'm not biased of my own high-quality supplement line, but if you go to Amazon and type Dr. Berg supplements, you'll find more information.